Ayelet Shaked, thanks for joining me on Upfront. Your Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, claims to believe in a two-state solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict. Do you believe in a two-state solution?
My personal view is different from the Prime Minister. I don't think it's a valid solution right now. We tried this solution once when we withdraw till the last inch from Gaza Strip. We got only terrors. The Palestinians, unfortunately, instead of building a Gaza Strip as the Singapore of the Middle East, they choose the terror path and just build tunnels to our village and rockets to our towns. I don't think it's a valid solution right now.
So what is your solution?
However, my Prime Minister suggests to Mahmoud Abbas to start talking again without precondition state, and so far we didn't see it happen.
President Obama says he can't see how Israel survives as a democracy without a peace deal, and also says the window is closing on that two-state solution. You're in New York, you've been at the UN. What's your response to President Obama when he says that to Israeli ministers?
Look, the problem in the Middle East is not the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Right now, I think the status quo is the best option for everyone.
Keeping the occupation going is the best option for the Palestinians.
It's not occupation, by the way. Judea and Samaria is a territory under dispute. We can talk about it. In Area C, for example, there are 400,000 Jews and 90,000 Arabs. A visible solution is that Israel will annex this area, and area A and B in the far future will be part of confederation with Jordan.
But they don't want to be part of a confederation with Jordan. They want to independent state.
We need to understand what's going on in the Middle East today. The national state, as we know them from Sykes-Picot Agreement, are collapsing. Syria, as we know, is no longer exist. ISIS taking over territories in Iraq, in Syria. From every territory that the West has been withdrawn, Islamic terror. It is, because we tried it once in Gaza.
So
and
you
we
want
got
to rule over the Palestinians forever?
We tried it once in Gaza. I'm not going to try it again.
So you want to rule over them forever?
You should see what happened around us in the Middle East. And by the way, we are not ruling them. We are not ruling them. There is the Palestinian Authority. They are ruling the Palestinians, and
the world considers the Palestinian territories to be under occupation.
The world, according to the international law, those areas are areas under dispute.
Well, actually, they're under occupation according to the UN. Let me ask you this, Ms. Shaked. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said at the UN this week that he's no longer bound by any agreements with Israel because he points out that Israel hasn't honoured any of those agreements from Oslo to the roadmap. Why should the Palestinians continue on with this charade of a peace process when there is no peace, there is no process from your end?
Mahmoud Abbas used yesterday the stage in the United Nations in order to spread lies and anti-Semitic statement against Israel that encourage incitement all over this area.
Okay, you're not answering my question. I'm not sure how he was anti-Semitic. But why should he be bound by agreements that Israelis don't honour? You yourself started this interview saying you don't believe in a two-state solution. So why should he honour it?
It's not us that we don't honour the agreement.
You said at the beginning of this interview, Ms. Shaked, I don't believe in a two-state solution.
I said that it's not the right solution. However,
so why should he be bound by it?
Israel government is respecting the agreement that it has been signed.
When you double the number of settlers since Oslo, is that respecting an agreement?
Excuse me, there is no agreement in which Israel is not allowed to build in Judea and Samaria.
So the Israelis have never promised not to build settlements?
The Palestinian Authority bypassed their obligation by going to an international forums, and in reality, it doesn't give any results in the field. If Mahmoud Abbas wants to talk to our Prime Minister, he knows how to do it.
You mentioned there's nothing stopping settlements under any agreements. Many would say, let me ask you the question. Let me ask the question, then you can respond.
No.
Okay.
Let me finish the answer,
Please
because
do.
you asked already one question. The Jewish people has rights to settle in Judea and
you say they have
Samaria.
Okay, so let me ask the question then. You've made that point. Let me ask the question then. You say they have rights to settle in what you call Judea and Samaria, the world calls the West Bank. The French judge who led the UN mission in 2013 said that settlements clearly violate the law and could be prosecuted as a war crime at the International Criminal Court. Are you worried about being prosecuted as a war criminal for your support for settlements?
Of course not. As I said, Mahmoud Abbas chose to go to the ICC and choose to attack Israel in those forums, although we have absolutely historical rights.
That's not what the French judge who ran the UN inquiry said.
Listen, it depends who you ask, and it depends which judge
That's
you ask,
convenient.
by the way. You know that in Judea and Samaria, Jews are living next to Palestinians in area where they live together.
You say it depends which judge you ask. I mean, the International Court of Justice, various lawyers, the UN Secretary General, they all agree that these are occupied territories and you can't build settlements on them. But let me talk to you about law in Israel. You're the Justice Minister in Israel. You changed the law this summer to allow, I think, up to 20 years in prison for Palestinian stone throwers, who you call terrorists, if they throw stones.
Sorry. You have a mistake. It's not Palestinian. It's every citizen that's throwing stones on a car can sit and can get up to 20 years in prison. And by the way,
so will you be prosecuting Israeli settlers who throw stones and carry out price tag attacks, who burn orchards, carry out acts of vandalism, burn babies even?
Of course, the law is the same law for everyone. Just 2 weeks ago, in our New Year Eve, Alexander Lavlovich has been murdered by Palestinians who threw stone on his car.
And no one's defending that. I'm asking for, you say that everyone should be treated equally. Can you tell me?
Everyone should be treated equally.
Can you tell me
every murder, just a second, every murder, it doesn't matter if he's a Jewish or a Muslim, should sit in jail for the rest of his life.
Okay, well, on that basis, can you tell me then how many cases of settler violence between 2000 and 2011 resulted in an indictment?
Excuse me, there is every case, you know, we investigate every case.
No, that wasn't my question. How many cases resulted in an indictment?
I don't know the numbers, and I don't know, and I don't.
1 in 10, Ms. Shaked. 1 in 10 cases of settler violence resulted in an indictment. 1 in 10.
How many Palestinians got arrested? But I can tell you that we investigate.
Is 1 in 10 a good statistic for you?
It doesn't. I don't know the statistics, but I can tell you
it's 1 in 10 cases of settler violence between 2000 and 2011 resulted in an indictment. 9 out of 10 didn't. That is not an equal treatment of law.
Excuse me, I think you're totally wrong. We'll put any
Those are the figures from Israeli human rights groups.
Any violence against Jews or against Arab. I can tell you that we took some very, very extreme step recently. Very, very extreme step. We use administrative detention against Israeli citizens because of this violence.
You say that,
so but Israeli government doing a very, very serious effort.
You say serious effort. You say serious effort, Ms. Shaked. Yuval Diskin, who I'm sure you know, former head of Shin Bet, no dove him. He said in August, anarchistic, anti-state, violent and racist ideologies have been forming in Israel over the years, and they are treated tolerantly by the Israeli legal and judicial system. That's the former head of Israeli Secret Service.
This is totally not true. As I
said, he's the former head of Shin Bet. Surely he knows more than you do.
And I am the Justice Minister, and I'm
With respect, you've been Justice Minister for 6 months. He was head of Shin Bet for 6 years.
You're not letting me finish.
Well, deal with his quote.
20 minorities of extremes, Jewish, who are acting in violence. They will be arrested. And
he says they are. He says they've been tolerated by the Israeli government.
It's possible. It's totally not true. The Israeli government
should really talk to the former head of Israeli security who says you're wrong.
Anything in order to assure a peace life of everyone. It doesn't matter if it's a Jewish or Muslims. While on the other side, the Palestinian Authority use a very, very anti-Semitic and in very violence against Israelis.
You don't agree.
By the way.
You don't agree with Yuval Diskin, clearly. You say he's wrong. Let me ask you...
I don't.
OK, well, let me ask you about the president of your country, the Israeli president, Reuven Rivlin, who said it's time to honestly admit that Israeli society is sick and it's our duty to treat this disease of racism, of xenophobia. Is he wrong as well?
Because we are fighting the minorities in Israel who are racist, but the Palestinian Authority doesn't. The Palestinian Authority
Okay, with respect, I'm not asking you about the Palestinian Authority. You're not Palestinian. I'm asking you about Israel.
I want to tell you,
of course
Israel,
you want to talk about the Palestinians. I'm asking you about the Israeli president. He says your society is sick.
I'm proud in what my government is doing in
so
order
is the president wrong? Is the president of Israel wrong?
No, the president knows exactly that we are doing all the right steps in order to ensure that no violence will be occurred, no matter if you are Jewish or if you are a Muslim. And we have a law in Israel. According to the law, everyone is equal.
It's good to hear you say that.
But acting according to that.
It's good to hear you say that. Before we finish, in the middle of last summer's Gaza conflict, as Israeli forces killed, I think, 500 Palestinian children, according to the UN, you posted an article on your Facebook page. You shared an article which referred to the entire Palestinian people as the enemy. It referred to Palestinian children. Hold on, let me finish my question, and then you can answer. Let me finish my question, and then you can answer. You're not letting me ask a question. It referred to Palestinian children as little snakes. Is that not a call for genocide, for child murder?
It's just not true. It's a totally lie and something that went out of context. I published an article that someone else wrote during the second Intifada, and I remove it. Now, if you want to talk to me what happened about 2 or 3 years ago, why you are not asking about the 2 kids that were kidnapped and murdered by Palestinian murderers?
Of course,
why
we all condemn Palestinian murderers.
Why you are not asking me about Daniel,
do you believe that
small kids that
do you believe Palestinian children are little snakes? It's a simple question.
No, of course not.
So why publish an article which said that?
It is totally lie and it was something that was get out of context. And
so it didn't say little snakes.
Now what you
it didn't say little snakes. It didn't say that.
I never said it.
No, did the article say little snakes?
I never said it. And now what you need to ask the people is why those kids, the Israeli kids, are being murdered and no one cares. Daniel, 4 years old kid, has been murdered in that time
cares.
Because the whole world doesn't care because the rocket shoot his house.
I think many of the Palestinians would argue no one cares about their deaths, which are more numerous. One last question. One last question. Then you say,
we do.
Okay,
believe me, we want to live in peace in the Middle East. Israel is never seek for a war.
We all care. You're here as an Israeli minister, so I'm asking you about your actions and your words. Let me ask one last question. I know you have to run. Let me ask you one last question. Your husband's an Air Force pilot, and in a TV interview you did in 2012, you were asked, when your husband, the pilot, when he's up in the air, do you hope he'll be pounding the Arabs hard with bombs? You laughed and said yes. Many would say you seem to get a thrill out of killing Arabs.
I'm not talking about my husband. It's not relevant to this interview.
But you did laugh and say yes when you were asked that question.
No.
It was on Channel 2 of Israeli television.
I'm not talking about my husband. I can tell you.
I'm not asking about husband. I'm asking about you. When you were asked about Arabs being pounded with bombs, did you laugh and say yes, as you did on Channel 2 television?
I'm not talking about my husband. He is a private man. I'm talking about the policy of the Israeli government. Israel government seeking for peace. The Palestinian Authority, unfortunately, encourage terror. This is the difference. When we have minorities that seek for terror, we will do everything that's needed in order to arrest them and bring them to a trial. This is the difference.
Ayelet Shaked, thanks for joining me on Up Front.
Thank you very much.